Okay, so to make up for the lack of uploads on my channel recently, and I do apologize for that, I'm going to do a triple review. So that means 3 movies in one video. I'm sure this can't go wrong, right?
I see it, and now it's all within my reach. I see it now. It's always been inside of me. And now I feel so free. And there's possibility. And there's possibility. And there's possibility.
Hello, everyone, and today I'm taking a look at 3 movies in one video. What are these 3 movies, you might ask? Well, in case you haven't read the title, it's New Mutants, Tenet, and of course, Candace Against the Universe. Why am I taking a look at all 3 of these movies at once? Well, to make up for time, of course, and I have something planned next month. So, yeah, but these will be sort of like mini reviews where I won't go that deep into the plot analysis and just give my thoughts on the movie. So, yeah, let's start off with New Mutants. Now, I was excited for this movie because, well, this might have been the last time we would ever see the Fox logo under an X-Men movie, so, yeah, before they joined the MCU. And I thought the concept was pretty interesting. A horror movie with X-Men characters. That sounded pretty cool. But unfortunately, it got delayed because they wanted to make the film scarier. And now that I've watched the movie, yeah, this movie wasn't that great at all. In fact, I was extremely disappointed by this movie. Even more than Birds of Prey, because I wasn't even looking forward to Birds of Prey, but I still felt disappointed. With this movie, on the other hand, I was beyond excited. And when I watched it, yeah, it wasn't that great. In terms of things I can say good about New Mutants, I mean, it is nice that the film finally got released. We had to wait 3 years, but yeah, at least it finally happened. The first half kept me engaged, and there were some moments I liked, but yeah. Oh, and some of the special effects look decent, but again, that's mostly what I can say that's good about the film. Other than that, yeah, this film isn't very good. First off, the characters aren't that interesting. In fact, they feel more like stereotypes of the nice girl, the mean girl, the nice guy, the nice boy, and the main character. Yeah, they're not that interesting in my opinion. And also, the villain, it was so obvious that as soon as she showed up, I was like, yeah, she's the bad guy. I'm calling it right now. And you're probably wondering, how did I know she was the bad guy? Well, if you have a film centered around teenagers, apparently trapped in a cage, in a center where they're supposed to be better and can go out into the world, yeah, it's kind of obvious who the villain is. And she is just forgettable as an antagonist. Like, she does next to nothing that makes me go, oh gee, I'm super going to remember you. Yeah, she's just Nurse Lady. That's what I'm calling her because I couldn't be bothered to remember her name. She's worse than Malekith from Thor the Dark World, because at least with him I can remember his name, only if it's because of that awesome show Avengers Earth Mightiest Heroes, but still. And yeah, that's the main problem with this movie. Even though it's a horror film, it's pretty forgettable and not that scary. I kid you not, whenever they try to be scary, I ended up laughing most of the time, especially when they try to do a jump scare with a guy wearing a smiley face mask. How is that scary? I get that people are scared of other things, but really? Your big jump scare is this? That's pathetic. I mean, I get what's under the mask. The guy has, like, no eyeballs and stuff like that. So, why not just do the jump scare with the guy without the mask on? That would be at least kinda scary. But this is laughable. And also the fact that, remember when I said this movie was forgettable? Yeah, this movie is extremely forgettable. Nothing happens throughout most of the movie. Even though I enjoyed the first half, it just felt kind of there. And the second half is where the movie tries to get serious, and it doesn't really work in my opinion. Honestly, I remember more stuff from X-Men Origins Wolverine more than this movie. That is a bad sign, and even though I would rather watch this movie than Origins Wolverine, at least Origins Wolverine had a couple things memorable about it, like Wade Wilson before he got his mouth sewn shut. Seriously, thank you Deadpool 2 for making fun of that and making sure that never happened. Thank you so much. But yeah, this movie is easily the second worst film in the X-Men franchise in my opinion, right under Origins Wolverine, because at least with The Last Stand and Dark Phoenix, despite the problems those films had, at least the action was memorable, and he had a couple of good ideas in it. But yeah, this movie is just a waste of time. And this is really sad, since this might be the last time we ever see Fox make an X-Men movie because of the X-Men going to the MCU. 4 out of 10. I'm just disappointed right now. So before I take a look at Tenet, if you want to know my updated ranking for the X-Men movies, here's the list. So yeah, pause the video if you want to see what it is. Okay, good. Okay, let's take a look at Tenet. Now, unlike New Mutants, I actually saw Tenet in theaters, whereas with New Mutants, I watched it somewhere else. But with Tenet, I wanted to see it because this will be the first time I would ever seen a Christopher Nolan movie in theaters. Even though the only other movies I've seen that have been made by Christopher Nolan is the Dark Knight trilogy, and in case you don't know what that is, then where have you been the last 15 years? But even so, I enjoyed Tenet. Now, are there some problems with the movie? Yes, there is, but I'll fully admit, it felt nice to go back to the theaters after 6 months of waiting, even if it felt weird having a mask on, and even when I was eating popcorn and drinking soda, but hey, it was nice. Now, in terms of the stuff I don't like about the movie, because there are a lot of things I like about it, so let's just go over the bad stuff first. First off, when the movie started, they did this whole, big noise thing that was, going the first, 5 to 10 minutes or so, and it felt really weird. I had to, do this to my ears, and yeah, I get this is Christopher Nolan, I know he loves big noises and all of that, but still, just tone it down a little bit, Nolan, please. And also the fact that this movie is confusing. I'll fully admit, even as someone who enjoys it, the film's whole time travel gimmick is kind of weird. It's basically like something that happens in the past happens in the future, and something that happens in the future happens in the past. It's confusing, and I'll fully admit some characters are just and our main character is named the protagonist. No, I'm not joking, that is his actual name. Gee, Nolan, how long did it take you to come up with that name? 5, maybe 10 months at most? But even so, the movie is still really good. I felt like even though the plot was confusing, it still felt interesting, and a lot of the stuff they do with this gimmick is really dang cool. A lot of the stunts they were able to pull off is just amazing. And it makes me wonder, how many times when they had to do this stuff in reverse, how many times did it take to do that? Especially in the car chase scene, that is easily my favorite scene in the movie because of just how well done it is. It is so good and shows us how well Christopher Nolan is able to use practical effects. That scene is just amazing. I dare not ruin it. It is so dang good. And yeah, that's all that much I can say about this film other than those few things. It is a movie I would highly recommend if you want to watch it, but if you don't, then that's fine. It's not amazing by any means, but I still had a fun time with it. I know this was short compared to New Mutants, but even so, this movie didn't have much to say about it. So yeah, overall, despite the problems I had with Tenet, which were a little bit, I still had a fun time seeing it in theaters, and I would definitely watch it again if it showed up on TV, or heck, maybe go back to the theater. Actually, no, I don't want to go back to the theater this month, maybe next month. But still, overall, I'm going to give Tenet an 8 out of 10. It was pretty dang good, and I would highly recommend it. So, yeah, time to take a look at the final movie in this review, Candace Against the Universe.
Mom! Sean is going to review my movie!
Alright, so it's time to take a look at the final movie in the video, that being Phineas and Ferb, Candace Against the Universe. Now, I was pretty excited for this movie, mainly because I am a big Phineas and Ferb fan. It was a show I grew up with ever since I was a young kid, and it was probably the show I watched the most when I was young. Either that or Pokemon, but still, it can go either way. But now that I've rewatched the movie for this video, well, I have this to ask. Is this movie as good as Across the Second Dimension? Of course not. No movie can beat this cinematic masterpiece of filmmaking. It is so beautiful. In fact, it is so good that we didn't even realize that Avengers Endgame copied its final battle. I am not even joking. But still, with that said, Candace Against the Universe is still a pretty fun movie. Now, are there issues with the film? Yes, and I'll get them out of the way first. Now, first off, while I do love the idea of Candace feeling like, compared to her brothers, she's not worth much, because that is kind of an interesting idea to do with Candace, it does lead into some cliched moments, where she meets someone who understands where she's coming from, and feeling like she's not as good as her, twin brothers. But here's the thing, it does lead to kind of a cliched moment, where when Phineas and Ferb finally get to her again, she's all like, "Oh, Phineas, Ferb, you come to get me? Well, I don't need you guys anymore. I'm finally at a place where people respect me and actually care about me. And Phineas and Ferb and the rest of the gang get taken away, and she then finds out that the villain wanted her because of her carbon dioxide in order to give energy to their mind-manipulating plant. And then Candace says, "Oh, but everyone else has carbon dioxide on Earth. So that means I'm not special? Really? Gee, who could have seen that coming? I totally didn't." But yeah, it was kind of cliched. And also the fact, this is one other problem I have with the movie, which I don't want to complain about since it is a really good scene. Even though I really do like that scene where Phineas and Ferb do give her that present, to show that how much they care about her. And even though she tries to bust them on a daily basis, she's still her sister and they still love her. I do love that moment, and it does lead to a great scene near the end where when Candace has a chance to, bust them finally, other than that one episode where she actually did bust them, she has a chance to bust them, but doesn't as a way of repaying them for that gift. That is a really good scene, but it does create a plot hole since this is canon to the events of the show. It makes me wonder, where does it take place in? Because why would Candace be like, I'm not going to bust them because of that gift, but then 2 seconds later in future episodes be all like, "Oh, I'm going to bust Phineas and Ferb, I'm calling Mom." Yeah, it makes no sense. And also, you could say this is a plot hole with the show, but in the movie, they do show how characters have smartphones. In fact, when Candace and Vanessa are being taken away, you see Ferb pulling out his phone to take a photo of it. And when the door is opening, Candace pulls out her phone to take a photo of whatever's inside. So, why didn't Candace just take a photo of Phineas and Ferb's invention at the start of the movie? That way, in case her mom didn't see it, she could at least have evidence. Or better yet, record it so that way her mom is all like, "Oh, you probably just photoshopped it or something, Candace." Seriously, it would have been that easy and could have solved this entire dilemma perfectly. But even so, this movie is still a fun time. The jokes, all of them nearly landed. I was literally laughing the entire way through. Well, almost the entire way through, since some jokes can drag on a bit. I won't give away all of the jokes because they are really dang good, especially from the greatest villain ever made, Dr. Heinz Doofenshmirtz. Every joke involving Doofenshmirtz is perfect. I was laughing because of him, and the characters also had their moment to shine. And there was this one joke that took me by surprise that I dare not spoil. You had to watch the movie for yourself. But there were some jokes that went on a little too long. There's one where one of the aliens tries to get away from the bad woman, whatever it's called, I forgot. And he was all like, "Oh, he won't be able to escape. We have the worst driving systems ever for our ships." And yeah, that joke went on a little bit too long. But even so, the movie does have a lot of good things in it. The voice acting is really good. All the actors do a spot-on job. It makes me wonder, how are they still able to do those voices, especially for the kid characters? Also, unfortunately, I have to say, in this movie, Baljeet does not hit the dab. If you were a fan of that moment in the show, I am sorry. Baljeet does not do it in this movie. I am sorry to tell you guys that. But even so, Baljeet had a lot of laughs in the film. And also, I do like what they did with Perry in the film. He pretty much, Dr. Doofenshmirtz and the kids have to team up in order to find Candace and Vanessa, and Perry has not to be seen by any of them. He can't go up to Doofenshmirtz or else they'll recognize him as Perry, and he can't take off his hat, to blend in as Perry or else he'll be caught. So I actually like that idea for Perry. Now, there is a lot of good things about this movie, like I said, but there is one other problem I do have with the film. That being, sometimes the animation can be really dang good, and other times, yeah, the characters are just staring into your soul, wanting to see your darkest fear. It is pretty creepy, not gonna lie, but if it's because of the whole virus outbreak and I had to cut time, I can understand that. But even so, what more can I say about this movie? It's Phineas and Ferb. You know how good this movie is. Even though it's not as good as Across the Second Dimension, it's still a pretty good movie, and out of these three films that I just reviewed, this is probably be my favorite out of all three of them. So yeah, I'm gonna give Candace Against the Universe a good old 8 out of 10. It was pretty dang good. And also, the songs, they were also pretty good. Not gonna lie, all of them were great, but yeah. So that being said, guys, I hope you enjoyed my very first ever triple review, and see you all in the next video. Have a good day.